Aloha. This is Emily Thoreau-Threat, host of the Grief and Happiness podcast. Every Friday, I share with you my love notes, giving you a little something to think about as you navigate through your grief journey, finding happiness expanding along your way. And every Tuesday, I post my regular podcast sharing wonderful conversations with people you can relate to and who offer you encouraging ideas and helpful inspiration. I'm so grateful you're joining me and look forward to hearing from you, your thoughts. Aloha. My short podcast for today is Who Cares Who's Watching? When I was growing up, I was always doing things to impress my parents to see if they were watching. Most times they didn't. After I left home, I would do things to impress my husband to see if he was watching, but generally he wasn't impressed. Then I started doing things that I could share to impress people at my class reunions, but they didn't care much either. When I married Jacques, he did notice what I did and shared with me how much he appreciated me. I knew he was watching, and that was much more positive inspiration to do good things. After Jacques died, I began to feel like everybody was watching me, wondering what I would do next, afraid to get too close to me for fear of dealing with the subject of death. I felt like everyone was judging me, wanting to see if I was being a good widow. I know how absurd that sounds, but in grief, we aren't always rational. I recall one time when a gentleman friend offered to accompany me to an event I didn't want to attend alone, not as a date, but as a friend. I actually heard people say that it was much too soon for me to be dating. I guess widows are just supposed to stay at home and grieve forever. As I reflected on this, I realized that what I did or said was no one else's business, just as what they said or did was none of my business. I realized I was judging them and that they were judging me. That hit me hard. As I journaled and meditated about that, I realized that the most important thing for me to do at that time was to release all judgment, my judgment of anyone, as well as my judgment of myself. And I did, and it felt like a miracle happened. Every time I felt myself start to slip, I would smile and recognize that I didn't need to judge and that I didn't need anyone to pay attention to judgment. So I just focused on what was positive instead. I would forgive myself and move forward. It took a little time, but the more I released, the lighter I felt. I now live in a judgment-free zone. I focus on what is beautiful and good and positive and filled with joy. I only pay attention to what I love about others, about me, and whatever happens. And my life is pretty fabulous. I encourage you to examine your thinking. Do you spend your time on the negative or on the positive? I guarantee the more positive you are, the more wonder and joy you'll discover. Do you want more comfort, support, and happiness? Join the Grief and Happiness Alliance. Visit my website at lovingandlivingyourwaythroughgrief.com and read my book, Loving and Living Your Way Through Grief. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast, rate it, review it, and binge on all our episodes on grief and happiness. I can't wait to welcome you back to another episode